What is the Matrix? Control. The Matrix is a computer-generated dream world, built to keep us under control in order to change a human being into this.
We're going to have Robert Wanek back on for a full hour later in the week. We have Tommy Pallottain, director, film producer of things like Waking Life, Scanner Darkly, The High Road, many other films. And he also does big art projects for international museums and things. Directed a lot of MTV music videos back in the day. Jack of all trades, good friend of mine. And we've got Tommy here in studio with us. Tommy, it's good to have you here.
It's good to be here in the new studio, Alex.
You bet, my friend. So much is going on. Let's get into the alternative media. I think it's got the establishment worried.
Yeah? Well, I mean, I'm pretty excited about it all. I mean, there's more and more ways to disseminate information every day, and it seems like people are taking advantage of that more and more, and it seems like the sort of traditional media is becoming more and more fractured, and that audiences the audiences can find more things that they want to, be informed about now.
Well, I agree with you. You were just telling me about a particular little widget you use to listen over your iPhone to the show. The widget is for free.
Right.
And it's funny, we had dinner last night. You were telling me about it. That was the very day that Kurt Nimmo added it to the Listen Live page. Tell folks about that particular widget.
Well, Flycast, is that the one you're talking about?
Flycast.
Yeah, for my iPhone, I downloaded a little app called Flycast that allows me to listen to your show streaming every day. So I think it uses Shoutcast to do that. And my idea for you was that you create your own little application, or one of your listeners creates an application for you that would allow you to stream just your show, because you still have to search through that application to find your show. And I thought it'd be great to have an InfoWars application where you could kind of look at the New York Times application as well, that they're able to push articles and stuff like that on it, but also to stream your show.
Want to volunteer to make us that application, we'll put it up. And I would add for Kurt on the Flycast to try to add a link to their subdirectory, not just their main page, so folks can find us on there. But, I mean, that's the great news. Now your iPhone, your cell phone, any of them, people can listen to the radio show. Again, that further destroys the monopoly of the establishment. That's why Barack Obama has now announced Internet 2 to openly take over the Internet and kind of kill the old web and force us onto the new one. Where do you stand on that, Tommy?
I think we've got to be really careful. And one of the main problems is that there's so much disinformation going on. And, I have hope that technology, or the people who really understand these new technologies, are going to work much faster than anybody trying to destroy that sort of flow of information. So, the levee's been open, and that information's coming out. And they can make it harder, but it's hard to stop it completely.
Well, that's what I was about to say. They're trying to eat around the edges with taxes, regulation, internet rating, where the government runs you through their servers to put a rating up. Australia's proposing the same system, but admitting it's Chinese-style censorship. That's the headline.
Right.
So just the filter itself, they're predicting, will slow the web down by 75 to 85%, and then you'll go through a government server, which also snoops on everything you do. Now, they're already doing it,
right.
But now they're being public about it.
Right. Well, the Echelon and things like that, I'm sure, has always been a
exactly,
part of
but in the name of a web rating, they're admitting they're going to pass you through.
Right, the web rating.
And then I guess Infowars.com will be rated for extreme, like a lot of corporations already ban us.
Right. And
that's their business, but it's different whenever governments do it.
Yeah, but again, I think that there's always going to be a way around that, and I think the great thing about your show is that I see it in many different ways. I mean, it's on BitTorrent, it's on YouTube. However much they're trying to stop it, you have redundancy even within your own websites. So they can try to, stop Infowars.com, but people are going to take that information, and disseminate it in other ways, which is always good.
No, exactly. That's why we ask listeners to go and copy all the stories we write and then post them everywhere else. Because they'll even block us on the search engines now. Right. But then it still gets out on other people's sites. But enough about me. We're talking about the alternative media. You've been kind of an alternative, outside the main Hollywood system, filmmaker in your own right. What's going on with film right now and, freedom in film? Or is that still controlled by the big boys?
Well, more and more. I mean, I started with independent film. And now the sort of independent boutiques have all pretty much shut down. So again, it's it comes and goes in waves. I think that right now it's pretty much all just a studio type way to make films in America only, but I think more and more I'm looking at the European model of making movies where you're actually culling together financing from multiple sources, multiple countries, and things like that. And I think that everybody's going to be going to have to get really creative in how to finance and distribute movies. In the past, there was always kind of a one-stop shop. You get money from one source, you go to one studio, they distribute it, and they pretty much had a cookie-cutter way to get that film out. Those days are over. I mean, I think that now you just have to be creative, not only in the filmmaking aspect of it, but also in the distribution aspect of it, the financing, and, you know, just the marketing of it.
Absolutely. Again, folks, in stores you can get Scanner Darkly. You can get, films like Waking Life. I was in a Best Buy last week and happened to see somebody literally there, getting a copy of Scanner Darkly, and then right next to it I saw a copy of Waking Life. So those both have serious political messages. Hey, that sounds like ice cream trucks out there. Sounds like Christmas. That's what Willie Nelson said on the show when he heard that music. He was like, he just stopped talking, he went. Tommy Pallotta's with us for another 25 minutes in studio. I hope you come back through town sooner. We'll do 2 or 3 hours here on air.
We will.
If you're a fan of Waking Life or a fan of Scanner Darkly or any other films that Tommy's produced or some of the other films that he's directed, or if you'd like to talk to him about the media, the alternative media, what it's like making a really independent film with that big of stars like he did with Scanner Darkly, you're welcome to call in. Phone calls about the new media, the attempts to censor the alternative media, 1-800-259-9231. Tommy, specifically, you're into futurist ideas, and you've worked for some other big corporations, just on the futurist angle with nanotech and technology and all of this. Genetic engineering. This doesn't just threaten the people. There's also a lot of opportunities there, and we see the system and the establishment may have all this innovation, but they've got old dinosaurs running it. And, I mean, take 9/11. That's an operation from the 60s, thinking they could control the media when they didn't. And they're not omnipresent. They're not God. What type of opportunities do you see in this revolution of technology?
I'm not sure. I think that there's a lot of questions that are floating around right now. And whenever those questions are out there, people are going to search for answers. Some are going to be close to the truth. Some might be really far off. So it's going to be harder and harder to sort of sift through that information. And it's going to take people to really organize and get together like it always has been. That's always been the challenge, is organization and getting people to move, in a movement towards a common goal.
Do you agree? Well, I mean, I know you agree, as we've talked. I mean, the system is in crisis. I mean, the New World Order is attempting to take over. They've got that avarice, they've got that propulsion system. But at the same time, the more they try to grab, the more slips through their fingers. I mean, all the evidence shows the New World Order is in crisis. Where do you see all this going?
It doesn't seem good. It seems like they're opening up Pandora's box. And the weird thing, I think, for us and maybe most of the listeners is that we're not really at the same morality level as these people that they're doing these crimes. I mean, the kind of morality that it takes to swindle billions of dollars is kind of foreign to me, and I bet most people, and how they can go ahead and do these things, and they're working on different moral principles, I think. And so that's a really difficult thing to sort of combat against, because it's really hard for me to understand the psychology behind the kinds of crimes that these people are doing.
Well, I agree with you, but you see the criminal mindset. They love big heists. They love complex operations. They love to fool the public. And if you study the psychology of criminals, then you look at the New World Order. Isn't it the exact same mindset? It's the same people.
Yeah, and the one thing that always kind of shocks me is just the lack of value for human life. I think you go out in the street, you talk to people, and people have a certain value, an inherent value on life, and these people don't seem to have that.
I agree. Projecting forward into the future, what do you see happening with the media itself? This war between the alternative and the kind of old dinosaurs, because really that is how the people communicate with each other. That's what sets the cultural parameters. You're a invited guest in Tokyo, Austin, Texas, L.A., all over, particularly to speak on the future of the media, because you've been cutting edge in a lot of areas there. Here on air right now, where do you see things going in the next 5-10 years?
you always hope for the best. You always hope that people are going to educate themselves more and more. I mean, unfortunately, right now, I would say that television is one of the main culprits for mind control. But that doesn't mean that it's inherently evil. It's just that, for the most part, it's being used in a really negative way. And the great thing about the internet is that the potential is really great. And all these other things like Twitter and ways to communicate and sort of organize people, I hope that it's going to be used more and more.
Well, absolutely. And again, that threatens the system. In just a year, Twitter is now starting to rival YouTube and things for communicating to people worldwide. I noticed last week somebody created an Infowars.com Twitter, and it had, thousands of people visiting it. So we just created one Saturday.
Good.
And, it's already got a few hundred people on it. I haven't even plugged it yet. Yes, go to Infowars.com, link through to our Twitter page, and you can get those updates of, text articles on your cell phone. Again, how is the system going to deal with this? We know that DARPA invented the World Wide Web to surveil and control all commerce.